Hey guys, sorry. I'm so sorry. My video cut out. It said I ran out of storage, but then I was like, bro, I deleted all my videos before I got on because sometimes I'd be toxic and be leaving them on the phone and then it'd be backing up my storage and my availability. So I just had my husband look at it and he says I should be straight. Sometimes YouTube will get really backed up and like take up a lot of space on my phone. So like you have to do something with that. So anyways, I want to finish this review or this critique for you. So I apologize if there's some continuity errors. I'm going to try to splice these two videos together, and if not, they might be posted separately if I can't get the editing software to work. But I apologize. I'm back. I want to finish this up for you. Hopefully this is not too long because I have some other stuff I want to shoot. So anyways, like I said, Hank and Alma talk about their basically shitty behavior, him crossing the line with his students. And he's like, I didn't do anything with Maggie. The only thing that I've done wrong was have an affair with you. And obviously he's still in love with her and he communicates this to her. He's like, you know how I feel about you. It's not a secret. It's out in the open. Like, what are we finna do about this? And so they share a like intimate, soft, passionate kiss. And then he wants to fuck her. And she's like starting to give him like some she's kissing him back, so it's like almost implied that she's with it, but then she backs off because I think sex is where she draws the line, or maybe she doesn't want to do it again with him if she's already done it in the past. And I'm like, but you literally hate your husband, so I don't even, you already here now, so why stop here? So I don't know. I mean, I don't condone cheating, but I was like, Alma has no moral compass to me. Like, she's very hot and cold, and she again toes that line. So she pushes him like off of her like very abruptly, and she's like, get the fuck out of my apartment. So then she goes on campus the next day, not realizing that Rolling Stone, the Rolling Stone, has published an article in which Maggie basically is going off. She's sounding off about the assault. She's sounding off about how poorly Yale handled the assault allegations. She's talking about how poorly Alma responded to her initial claims and how she failed her as both a woman, as a mentor, as a student, all of the things. And then Alma is confronted by Maggie's partner, Alex, and a group of other students who are protesting, what happened and like the professor's response and the school's response. And they're like, we want answers. We want you to be held accountable. And everyone starts crowding around her and she starts freaking out. And then she fucking has an ulcer. And I guess the ulcer is literally burst. It's almost like the things come to a head in the physical sense, like outside of her body, but within her body as well. And it's like, if you don't handle things and you don't take care of your health, it'll take care of you, bitch, and not in the way you think. So that's why I'm always telling y'all asses, go to the doctors, go get your checkups. Don't be stupid like me and wait till something persists. I have a bunch, I'm going to be oversharing for just a moment here. I have so many appointments that I'm going to because I neglected stuff for years and years and years, and I've let it's just piled up, and it's just like reached like, I'm trying to think. It's just like fucking exploded. And I was like, damn, I'm tired of having 3 or 4 appointments in one day. But I was like, if I don't get in front of this is going to get in front of me. And it has. And here I am now. So don't be stupid like me. Go now while it's still calm and while you can still get it treated and while you can still manage it or cope with it. So she's in the hospital and Frederick comes to visit her. I actually really like this scene because it was shot mostly in the dark. There's like lights, there's like different lights, like green, orange, different lights. And it's like things are actually coming to light. Oh yeah, I just realized there's a symbolism there. I didn't think about that when I was watching it. But it's like her truth comes to the forefront, it comes to the light. And she finally tells Frederick about the sexual assault she said that she experienced as a teenager. She's like, I wasn't actually assaulted. I was actually in love with the older man. I pursued him relentlessly. He kept telling me no. And he kept pushing me away and rejecting me, but I wouldn't stop. She was like, I was like obsessed with him. I was infatuated with him, and it was one of her dad's friends. And she's like, I initiated a relationship with him of like the sexual kind. And she's like, what I told you was not true from the beginning. So it's like this big secret is like now finally out in the open. But her husband's response was interesting to me because he still made space for her and he still gave her grace, even though I didn't feel like she deserved it because she had been lying to him for all this time. And I don't actually quite know how long Alma and Frederick were married, but if I had to guess, maybe 20, 30 years, 20, 25 years, something like that. So long enough that they should be communicating the truth and everything should be out in the open. And there's times where you're still going to learn a lot about your partner, even years down the road. I'm still learning stuff about my husband that I didn't know. I think some stuff we fill in with our minds and we assume, but really you should ask the person. You should really, and sometimes things will happen, like events or situations will happen that force these like certain little quirks or things to come out about them, which is so interesting. But anyways, so she's like, this older man that I was with, I would like go sneak and visit him at my father's job so I could just be around him, so I could be in proximity to him. And, you know, he ended the relationship with me to be with a woman his own age. And so she said the best way I knew how to hurt him was to say that he raped me. So she said it, and then she let it be believed for a few years, and then she recanted her statement. But then a few years later, he took his own life. And I thought that that was very interesting, that she was willing to let the lie have like grow feet, arms, and legs. Like, I thought that that was so cruel because she didn't get what she wanted. And she was like, you know, he flaunted this other woman in front of me, almost like you know, flaunting what he had and showing that he could never have that with me because I wasn't of age and it wasn't appropriate for us to even be connecting in that way in the first place. So Frederick is like, you know, even if you feel that, you know, you're to blame, like, he's the adult, he should have said no. Having an affair, having that type of interaction with someone underage, that's a choice. And he's like, you know, you weren't wrong, you were the victim here. It's like she still can't see herself through that lens. She feels she's the predator as opposed to the prey, which is interesting. Victims do tend to self-blame, and I thought that that was very interesting commentary she made. Like, she was actually taking up for this older man instead of saying, hey, I was young, I was an impressionable, yes, I had something to do with it, but he also had something to do with it. It takes two to tango. So then we move to the future, 5 years in the future, 5 or 6 years in the future, and Alma is now dean of the college. You know, she published an article about what happened to her, and this kind of helped redeem her. I think she also published a book or something like that. She's pretty visible. She has like an assistant. She has a big ass office. She has all the things that she could have possibly wanted. So then I think she gets an email from Maggie. I thought it was actually from Dr. Kim, but it was from Maggie saying, hey, I'd love to link up. Let's grab a drink. Let's reconnect, or let's connect and catch up. So it's their first time since seeing each other since everything that had happened earlier in the movie, the assault, the aftermath, the fall, all the things. So Maggie has completely moved on with her life. You know, she's like, I'm engaged, I'm working the job of my dreams, I've grown up in life. Like, she's had a glow up. So she's like, I'm fine. Like, what happened confused me. I wished I had more of your support, but it is what it is. She's like, I'm wiping my hands clean of the situation. And almost like, you know, I am too. Like, I'm happy. I'm living out all my dreams. And Maggie asked a question. She's like, hey, do you know what happened to Hank? And she's like, oh, he's on the congressional trail. He like works for a campaign now. So it's like everybody they got something that they wanted, and they weren't really punished, or their behavior really wasn't rectified. And we never quite actually know if Maggie was actually assaulted or not. Me personally, I believe that Hank did it. He just gave sleaze. He gave that he would cross the line. He gave that he would cross the line because he is powerful, because he knows that nobody would believe his victims. And he's very flirtatious, and he doesn't have any self-awareness. He's very egotistical. He makes himself out to be bigger than he actually is, larger than life, and it's not realistic. He's human, not a god. And I think he has a huge god complex. I think someone else mentioned this in the video. He has a huge ego, and it seems like people like that, they just run amok, and they never are accountable for their behavior, and they never take ownership or responsibility for their behavior. So I definitely think that he did it. I'm curious if it happened exactly how Maggie remembers it or recalls it, or if it happened with a combination. Maybe he did confront her on the dissertation, and then maybe it escalated because he wanted to be in power and control, as opposed to letting Maggie have that power and control, or that upper hand. I would be really curious about that, but we never know. The director doesn't quite make it clear, and I think that was on purpose. I think it was intentional because, again, those lines can get blurred, those lines can get muddy, those relationships and the boundaries that should exist in those relationships but didn't, they get muddied or muddled. So Maggie's like, yeah, I doubt you're really happy. She shows off her ring. Alma asks her about her former partner, Alex, and she's like, you know, they're a lawyer, they're on track to make partner, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she's like, did you write that article to basically save face? And, you know, Alma is just like, I actually love her costuming in this as well. Like, in this scene, she's wearing like this powder blue sweater. It's like all the way up to her neck. It's like a thick turtleneck. It's really like cashmere. It gives like elegance, like wealth, opulence, intelligence, maybe not intelligence, but it gives a certain air. Like, she's like a well-read woman. She's a well-dressed woman, a well-traveled, a well-cultured woman. It kind of gave that. But yeah, I actually did like Io's wardrobe in this movie as well. I did like her styling as well. I think her styling in Opus was much better though. That's just me. And then Alma Maggie leaves, and Alma opens, or she like lifts up the curtain to watch her walk away in the window. And it's like Maggie got the last laugh. She kind of got the last word, and she left on her own terms. And I really like that for her. And then as Alma pays for her glass of wine that she didn't drink. And it's funny, when Maggie joins her, she's like, almost like, you want to drink? And she's like, no, I don't drink anymore. And I was like, bro, me, same. I'm actually trying to not to stop drinking like for a little bit. I think I want to stop drinking for about a year. That's my goal. But I was like, I'm going to try not to drink this holiday season. I just drank, the last time I drank was my Friendsgiving a couple of weeks ago. But I was like, I think I want to stop drinking. I was like, I've kind of overdone it. I've had my 20s and had my fun there. But I was like, sometimes I just be OD. And I was like, holiday season, it feels like even more so. Like, next thing you know, someone's putting a drink in your hand, putting a drink in your hand. And you're like, damn, I'm like 5 glasses of wine deep. And it's like, I don't really want to do that to my body. And I was like, my body is just tired. I just need a fucking break from things that aren't really serving me. And it's actually really bad for you. But anyways, and I also realized that like, you don't need to drink to have fun. I'm really realizing that as I age. But so Alma pays for her glass of wine, and then all of a sudden you hear cut, and then the movie goes blank. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, that was such a random choice, but I was like, I know that was intentional. Also, I want to say the score was a little bit conflicting for me, because I think that scores really do work for movies, and I think that they go hand in hand with the visual aspect of film. But I didn't like the score in this movie. It was very busy. It was like almost too much, and it was a little distracting. And I've seen other people say this in their reviews and on Reddit. And also, there's a ticking clock noise that's made throughout the movie, and it's long. Like, it was starting to piss me off. But I think maybe that was intentional. Maybe it was supposed to piss the viewer off. Maybe it was supposed to make us frustrated at the situation and what Maggie's character went through, but all characters involved. I don't know what the intentionality was behind that, or the thought process was behind that, but that's just my 2 cents. But anyways, if I had to rate this movie, I would rate it, that's tough. I would rate it like a 5.5 or a 6, because I feel like it was trying too hard to be smart. I feel like I didn't get enough character development, and I didn't get enough character motives. Like, I didn't understand why some of the characters were doing the things that they were doing. And I think I wanted, what did I want more of? I just needed a little bit more development, because this movie is very dialogue heavy, and I know that dialogue can move the needle in terms of storytelling, especially visual storytelling, but it was like too dialogue-y. I wanted more action, and the cinematography was actually pretty, I don't want to say basic or standard. It was just pretty like level. Like, there was no shots that really called to me, that really stood out to me. I don't know if that, I'm not trying to disrespect Luca Guadagnino, because I know that filmmaking is a very hard thing, but to me it didn't resonate. Like, usually when I watch a movie, there's certain shots I will remember and will burn in my brain, because I'm like, oh, the color palette or the color scheme is beautiful, or the costuming or the music. It was just too much. Like, there was like this piano noise that was being made throughout the score, and I didn't really like that. Like, I kept focusing on that as opposed to what was actually happening on the screen, like scene to scene. So that was a little bit distracting. I say you guys give it a chance. Let me know what you think. I just wanted to talk about this movie because I understand it's very polarizing and people have mixed opinions on this. But I think that this piece was very timely. I think that it made great commentary on like power of abuse, mishandling victims when they do come forward, and just like what is the right or wrong thing to do, and how do you keep your moral compass intact when it's been shifted or recalibrated in some way. I think that that was pretty cool, but I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I didn't go to the theater, to be completely honest with you. And maybe that, I'm not trying to say that as a dig. I'm glad I supported the film in a way that I could. That's what I want to leave this video off with. But let me know what you guys think. Are you planning on checking it out? Are there any movies that you're watching right now? Are there any movies you want me to review? Let me know. I'd be more than happy to take a look. I'm open to suggestions as long as it's not too fucking crazy. Again, I like weird, but within reason. But anyways, I love you guys, and I'll see you next video. Bye.